You want to cash your bet halfway through a Major League Baseball game? Well, you're in the right place because we got 3 first 5 wagers that you got to be placing this afternoon and evening here coming your way on First Pitch. We got a bunch of early games going on while we're live here, but we still got 7 on the late slate. We'll get you some best bets in 2 of those. But I say we get kicked off with some of these first 5 wagers and swing it on over to my man, Mark Zinno. A game and series that we have been talking a lot about here has been the Kansas City Royals opposing the Toronto Blue Jays. It's Bassett on the bump, and man, does he need a good outing. He opposes Lugo in this one. Which is the first 5 side, or are you looking at a total in this one, Zeno?
Yeah, looking at a total here, we get 2 prime starters. Now, Chris Bassett at home is always a starter that I'm willing to back. He's been incredible throughout his career, particularly in Toronto at home. Was stellar this year until his last start when he ran into the LA Dodgers last week. And I remember talking to our friend Bryan and telling him, I don't know if I want to step in front of the Dodgers right now, even with Bassett on the mound. Turns out I was right. He gave up 7 runs in 2 innings, or 2 2/3, so he kind of got banged around. But it's a great time to come back with him at home here. His last 2 previous home starts, when combined 13 innings, allowed just 9 hits, 2 runs, and struck out 13. Seth Lugo has been equally impressive here as the Royals starter. Lugo's given up 2 runs or less in 4 of his 5 starts while going at least 5 innings in all of them. Now, I know the Toronto Bats guys have been good at home, and they are putting up runs, but Lugo should get the job done here as he's allowing opposing hitters, or holding opposing hitters, rather, to just a 184 batting average the first time through the order. So if he gets to the first time through the order clean, which I suspect he can, we should be able to stay under this number. I locked in earlier for my clients. This is a client play and a free play here at 4.5. It's now down to 4. So you're going to keep that push in your back pocket. You still want to play it here. I don't think it's a terrible play. Look, I mean, if we're getting to 4, Bassett and Lugo both have been touched up here. So we're in a danger zone we should need to be in. I think both these starters really should be much better than that.
Starting pitching is going to be the star, at least to start off that Toronto and Kansas City game, sitting at 4. So this is a run don't walk kind of situation because you're already paying some juice on that. Zeno saying going under in the first 5. Hop below in the comments and let us know what first 5 wagers you are eyeing on today's card. Shout out to Raven Ron in the chat, Tyler, Wisconsin guy, FB coach, all of you joining us, whether you're joining us on YouTube or watching us on Twitter, Instagram. We appreciate you. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. If you're watching anywhere else, make sure you hit that follow button, and we'll be getting to your questions and games here shortly on the show. But let's roll with another early game here, so you folks tuning in live right at the top here can get some nice actionable info. And this is another game we're splitting in half with my man Bryan Power. Bravos and Mariners in this one. This one's going at 3:40 Eastern is the scheduled first pitch in that one. We talked a total with our man Zinno. You want to break down a side and why you think maybe laying the half a run is the spot to go with the Atlanta Braves. Why is that, BP?
Yeah, I want to play the Braves here. First time all season, they're coming off back-to-back losses, Dan. Shockingly, little offense from this lineup so far in this series. Just 3 runs in 2 games. Very uncharacteristic. Now, I couldn't fault anyone for playing the under. Braves are 9-0-1 to the under their last 10 games. The Mariners have gone under in 9 straight, but I do want to go back to the fact, what I led off with, that this is the first time all season Atlanta is off back-to-back losses. Prior to yesterday, they were 7-0 this season off a loss. And as good as this Seattle rotation has been recently, and it's been great, including today's starter Emerson Hancock, I still trust a Braves lineup that remains tied for the MLB lead in runs per game. And Braves pitching hasn't been a problem in this series. They've allowed just 5 runs in the 2 games. Chris Sale on the mound, I expect another strong start. Back-to-back quality starts for Sale, .92 whip for the season. Now, Dan, as you alluded to, we're looking at the first 5 here for the game. Braves are north of minus 170 on the money line for the full game. So it is a matter of getting creative how to play them. I think the best bang for your buck is laying the half run in the first 5 here. That'll cost you just minus 125. Bottom line, I expect Sale to outduel Hancock and the Braves to be ahead after the 5th frame.
Braves first 5 laying the half run. That's the play right out of the gate here for Bryan Power. Make sure you hit that like button if you're joining us here live or on the rewatch. Don't worry, folks, on the rewatch. We do have some best bets coming up in some late games. We're also going to be talking Cleveland and Houston here in just a few, but let's hit a couple more of these day games right here at the top. So you have to scroll past. Will allow you to do so to get to the night games. We'll swing back to that game that we were just breaking down with Bryan. I want to get your thoughts, Zinno, as you are a total man. Basically, the chat. What do we got? G Hurt here saying Mariners day game formulaic under is the play for him. Thoughts on that one?
I mean, look, I think you're gambling, pun intended, I guess. You're playing with fire here. Betting against the Braves bats to be shut down for 3 consecutive games. Like, that's just the feeling here. I mean, the Braves have scored exactly 3 runs in this series. That's usually like the top of the first for them in any given game. So it's a dangerous spot for me to think that the Braves won't be able to score for the 3rd straight game. I would, with a low total of 7.5 here, if you're getting 3.5 with the Braves as a team total, and I can check the WagerTalk odds screen real quick, but that's probably the way I'd look and go over their team total here. And in reality, it's still possible for the game to go under and the Braves to go over, even though they are at 4.5. They have the Mariners down to 2.5, which is insanely low. But you know, I mean, I would look at that way and look at the Braves to go over their team total because they're a run scoring machine. You know, I mean, that's, you know, just the reality of the situation. So it's hard for me to bet against the Braves three games in a row to stay under a 4-run number.
Yeah, I'm with you, and you know, I always love ISOing in on those team totals. You know, the chat asking, hey, what are you eyeing here on the board today? Again, an early start time starts in about 2 hours, but not even being a homer, guys, like, it's hard for me not to want to back this Phillies team. First team to get to 20 wins. They have Wheeler on the bump. The number has just climbed. Overnight, guys, it was like minus 185. We're looking at minus 225. So I feel like that's got a little bit too rich for my liking, so to speak. It's Sandoval, the lefty, on the other side, and we know Phil's against lefty pitching can always be a dicey proposition. So any thoughts on that one? The chat asks me, BP, so I have to bring up the Phillies against the Angels. It's a must from the chat.
Yeah, I've got a creative way to play this one where you can reduce, you know, how much you got to lay on the Phillies. Zach Wheeler to record a win. Dan, I know you know this. This guy's pitched a lot better than his record. He's only 2-3 on the year. The team is 2-4 in his 6 starts. Now they've won the last 2, but he's got a 1.93 ERA, a 0.86 WHIP. He's pitched much better than the 1-loss record. 1-loss record can be very misleading with these starting pitchers, as we all know. Sandoval, he's not good. I had the Phillies in the first 5 last night. That was a winner. I think, you know, even laying the half a run at this point is a little juicy. So I think the best bang for your buck in this game is to play Zach Wheeler to record a win. I think that's around minus 125 when I looked about a half hour ago.
Yeah, and especially teams, you know, the chat's always talking about, like, teams with this up by 2 promo, especially teams that you feel like fit that mold. That's one of my favorite bets that I've added into the repertoire is starting pitching to record a win. This one is minus 120, but if you want to bet any other Zach Wheeler props, can I interest you guys in over 18.5 outs recorded? Forget that, plus 120. And I don't want to bet the under either in case he does go deep.
Oh, yeah.
They got his strikeouts thrown at 7.5. That's going to be right around that number. You're going to either win or lose that by a half point. Hits allowed 4.5, juiced over 145. So if you want to find a pitcher prop to bet on Zach Wheeler, that to record a win is really the only one that would make sense for me. Zinno, you got anything on that game, or should we roll?
I mean, I'll add this real quick. In an interesting way to play this, if you believe in Zach Wheeler, as BP said, and I don't know how much I want to get into X number of outs because a lot of that's determined by pitch count. You know, I mean, you could walk 2 guys. You could have an 8 or 9 pitch at bat and walk 2 guys, and all of a sudden you're in the 75 pitch range through 4 innings, and you know he's not going much past 5. So it's a dangerous proposition for you to get involved in. But if you trust Zach Wheeler here, and here's something to remember in the equation, guys: Mike Trout is now out of the Angels lineup, and I wonder how the rest of that lineup. And if you follow baseball, you know this: one guy can change 4 or 5 positions in a lineup just because of who he is and where he bats and everything else. And Trout may be that guy. They may have a little time struggling to figure out what that lineup is going to look like. I say all that to say that I think the Angels team total might be playable, but I would even look in the first half, the Angels team total under 1.5, because if Wheeler is Wheeler, he shouldn't get touched up for more than a run. And this is an Angels team that doesn't exactly, without Mike Trout, isn't going to score a ton of runs. So, again, it's a little bit risky because you're a bloop and a bomb makes it a loss for you. But if Wheeler is Wheeler, I don't think that the Angels rather are scoring much in the first 5 innings here.
Fair. Yes, so you maybe even look towards that under there in the first 5. Yeah, talk about switching up lineups. How about Rojas being the hero last night and the guy isn't even in the starting lineup? The skipper never ceases to amaze me with the Philadelphia Phillies. I can tell you that much. All right, we've hit the quota of Phillies talk here. FB coach is saying that we won with Texas laying the 1.5 yesterday. He's on the Nats today, though, full game and first 5, asking for our thoughts. You're going to want to stay tuned because that's actually coming up in best bets. Brian Power has a thought on that game. But guys, let's really talk about one of these series that has been tough to bet, but I think a hell of a series here early in the season, and that's been the Yankees going against the Baltimore Orioles. Gill is going to be on the hill for Yankees. The Orioles opposing with Corbin Burns. This one with an 8.5 total. You're looking at minus 148 for the home side of the Baltimore Orioles. Zinno, I will start with you as our resident Yankees guy on how you think this game is going to be shaken out. Finally, an evening game here to talk about.
I'd play the Orioles money line. I just look.
That's simple.
Yeah, it's Corbin Burns on the mound. I mean, it's that simple. Like, the Orioles don't lose when he pitches. The Yankees bats have been silenced the last 2 days. I mean, look, I was the $2 capper yesterday, and my play was the Yankees over 4.5 runs, and they couldn't do anything. And I would have expected them against a guy in Dean Kramer, who they pretty much banged around his entire career. They couldn't do anything last night. And yes, much like when you talk about the Braves, you go, do you really want to bet against the Yankees to not score a lot of runs in 3 consecutive starts? No, but you're probably having at this point, what might be the AL Cy Young leading candidate in Corbin Burns on the mound for the Orioles. And I don't know that the Yankees are a team that is good enough to hit them. So I would look towards the Orioles here to just win the game outright. I mean, they haven't had to use a ton of relievers in the last 2 nights. They've gotten good quality starts from guys, and the Yankees bats have been a little bit silenced here. So I would expect that the Orioles will pull off the sweep.
So I'm wondering for you, BP, in this one, I mean, as he mentions, Burns, the stellar start to the 2024 campaign is looking to continue today against the lineup that, as Zinno mentioned there, is just really struggling. But Burns coming up 3-0 this year. You think he makes it 4-0? Like we were talking about betting pitchers to record a win. Is that one a little dicey for you, or could that be a potential play in this one?
So if you think he can go 6 innings, it's worth betting over 17.5 outs, I think, here. What's interesting to me about this game, and it's because Burns is on the hill, obviously, this is the first time Baltimore in the series has been priced as a prohibitive favorite. Yesterday they were an underdog. They were a very short favorite. I believe they closed it in the series opener, winning both those games. But I just think if you think Burns is going to be great here, over 17.5 outs may be the way to go. Again, he has to just go a full 6 innings and the Orioles bullpen's a concern, guys. Remember, they're high leverage guys, have seen a lot of action in recent days. Kimbrel with the back issue. So they just may be coming into this game with the mindset of, we're letting Burns go 6 innings. Unless if he gets blown up early, which probably isn't going to happen because Zinno just laid out the Yankees lineup and what they weren't able to do in what seemed like a favorable run of pitchers yesterday from the Orioles. Yeah, I think Burns probably makes it through a full 6 here today.
So that's the thoughts there on Yankees and Orioles. Hop below in the comments. Some folks already chiming in, like our man Eric DeLong. He's saying, what about a little 2-teamer? You take Baltimore money line, Phillies money line there, according to the dais here.
Yeah, 95 special right there, man. Yeah, 95 special, right from Citizens Bank Park to Camden Yards.
It's what we do. It's what we do. A little East Coast special. I'm glad also that Tyler brings up, hey, maybe if you're looking for parlay pieces, you pair the Phillies with the Astros, because something that's in our YouTube title, so I want to make sure that we hit on, is this Cleveland and Houston game. But Verlander on the bump, minus 168. I mean, BP, are we just eating chalk in every parlay we place today? Like, what do you think about this one? Tristan McKenzie out there for the Guardians.
Well, Zinno and I touched on this game on the morning wager, which people can check out elsewhere here on WagerTalk TV. But I'll just tell you what we said. We like the over in this game. Now, the number has moved from 8.5 to 9, so you're at the key number now. But, you know, McKenzie, I was in the park last Thursday when he last started against Boston. There was a lot of concerns about him. It turned out it didn't matter because Ramirez hit an early grand slam and gifted him a 5-run lead, and that was all she wrote. But he's up 4 runs. And you look at the Cleveland lineup. I know Zinno feels strongly about them, what they can maybe do to Verlander today. I just think we get runs. I don't think we're going to get as many runs as we did yesterday, where they combined for 19. But 19. I think we can get over 9 here today between these two lineups. Very interesting how this is being priced, because Houston's been such a disappointment. Cleveland's been such a surprise. Odds makers making quite the statement here with the current pricing. Houston did yesterday what they really just had not done all season. That's win a close game. I think yesterday was their first 1-run win all season. But I would take the over in this game. I think the offenses rule the day.
Yeah, and you could even take a look at, obviously recent form in this one, and it's easy to say, oh, well, Houston, they've been struggling to score runs. Again, last night they absolutely exploded. So, Zinno, you think that was maybe the game that they needed to wake these bats up a little? Because it sounds like, according to what you guys talked about on the morning wager, you're in concert on thinking, hey, even at a key number of 9, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Take the runs that we saw yesterday, maybe carry some over and cash an over in this one.
I mean, here's how this thing doesn't go over, in my opinion, is if you get Verlander to get to 7 innings, right? Because in reality, this Astros bullpen is pathetic. It's bad. I mean, it's got a 5.13 ERA, a 1.4 whip. They've given up the 3rd most hits of any bullpen in baseball. And they've had to pitch a lot of innings because their starters haven't been that great. So if you can get Verlander out of there before 6 innings, which I think the Cleveland lineup can do because they are a very good walk rate team. They're a low strikeout team. And so, their strikeout percentage is bottom 5 in baseball. So they don't strike out a lot. So they're not going to do Verlander any favors. If they can work counts and get him out of there and put the bullpen in there, you're going to have a chance to score runs late with Cleveland. So I'm with BP on the fact that runs are going to be scored. Tristan McKenzie's been pretty much a dumpster fire to start the year. I mean, he does have good stuff. Your worst hope in this game, honestly, is that Tristan McKenzie actually, has a great start. If that happens, if he goes 5 innings, doesn't get up any runs, you might be dead in the water at that point in time. But I don't know that we're necessarily going to get that because I think the Houston bats are starting to come alive.
You can hop below in the comments. Let us know what some of your favorite plays are here today. We got Titan CT. We were just talking about that Yankees and Baltimore game. He's looking towards the over in that game. We love seeing those plays below, whether you're watching us live here or watching on the rewatch. And make sure you check these guys out. Yeah, they're talking baseball. Yeah, they're talking NBA. But quietly, my man Bryan Power, WT.buzz/BP. A little soccer run that he has been ripping, number 1 at WagerTalk over the last week. So, hey, I preach all the time, man. The money spends the same, whether you're betting on darts with Andy Lang, soccer with Bryan Power, or you're betting the NBA playoffs. A winning ticket is a winning ticket. So, you can check him out over at WagerTalk. We actually got a special going on, 11 days for the price of 7. So it's a great time to hop in and try some of these guys out. And Zinno here talking baseball with us. Just a respectable number 1 last month in MLB in win percentage and return on investment. A little hiccup with the $2 play yesterday, but that means we get right back into it. Yeah, I'm sorry to bring it up again, man. I had to.
Okay.
It's just transparency's sake.
I will say this much: there were a lot of other cappers who were thinking, like I was, that the Yankees were the right side last night. And again, I mean, look, the big thing is just in the big pictures. We talked about that game before, like. If they didn't get last night's game, everybody knows they're in danger of being swept today because Corbin Burns is on the mound. So, this is the wake-up call that the Yankees are going to get here, that the Orioles are legit. Should be the wake-up call for everybody. I don't know what's taking everybody so long about the Orioles. They're one of the best teams in baseball. But, this may be the early sign that, hey, this is the Orioles division to lose.
Yeah, hard to disagree. That's Mark Zinno. You can check him out on X at Mark Zinno. Guys, let's swing and talk about this Reds and the San Diego Padres game. We had a question from DT plus the points. He wants his thoughts on this game. We've seen some money come in for the under. Musgrove and Ashcroft in this one. Someone else was talking about good old Java Joe giving up some runs. So it comes down to Ashcraft maybe getting some backup in this one. Is that how you see it shaking out, BP? Is there going to be some runs, Cincinnati team total in play?
I had the over on this matchup last night. It cashed rather easily. I'm surprised to see that oddsmakers continue to hang low totals in this series because the San Diego Padres, their games this year are averaging almost 10 runs a game, 9.7 to be exact. And Zinno knows this. When it comes to playing the total and the Cincinnati Reds are involved, the default is always the over. They have a lineup that can mash, and they have a lousy bullpen. Traditionally, we saw that was what was the death of them last season after that great midseason run they had. The starting rotation was questionable, and the bullpen was just gassed, tired, and stunk. And then you talk about stunk. Joe Musgrove, the Padres starter for this game, has been very poor in his 7 starts. An ERA approaching 7. 5 of his 7 starts have gone over, including each of the last 3. To me, if you're looking at the total in this game, over is the only way I would play it. Musgrove's not good. The Reds bullpen's not good. And the Padres lineup better than expected, although they kind of had some tough days against your Phillies, Dan. But look at some of the starters they were facing, Suarez and Nola. Ashcraft's good, but he's not Suarez or Nola. So I think we're going to see runs in this game as well.
How about you, Zinno? What's your thoughts on this one?
I mean, I'm a big guy who looks at run support for starting pitchers, and I don't know whatever mathematical formula there is why certain guys get more run support than others, but it just works out that way. Joe Musgrove getting 5.4 runs of support with a 6.94 ERA. Graham Ashcraft 6.6 runs of support with a 4.4 ERA. Carry the 2. Yes, that's correct. That equals runs, a lot of them. So, and you should get them early. You shouldn't have to sweat this one out all that much when it's all said and done. But to BP's point, why they keep hanging these lower numbers with these guys, I'm not really sure. I think both of these are very hittable starters. And I said from the beginning of the season, guys, repeatedly, Reds overs were going to be a thing for me all year long. And I've continued to be right. They can score.
Yeah, and Kelly Vincenzo offering the female perspective in the chat, and it's as simple as, quote, Operation Fade Joe Musgrove. She's alt-lining Cincinnati laying a run, plus 163. So she's big-time believer in the Cincinnati Reds here this evening. You can hop below in the comments and let us know what you're looking to bet. You can also ask some questions in this one. Speaking of questions, we're still going to be rocking here for a little bit, but Zinno, I got to get your best bet or else my man B-Hawk in the chat is going to murder me. He's asked me to talk about this Cubs game with you guys about 400 times, so I got you, B-Hawk. We're always chopping it up with you here in the chat. You got a first 5 wager in this one. Yeah. Cubs and Mets. Budo looking like he's going to be on the mound, plus money price at home for the Mets. How are you betting this one?
I mean, look, you get 2 really good starters in Shota Imanaga of Chicago and Jose Butto of the Mets. Imanaga, 0.98 ERA and a 0.8 whip. He's got 28 strikeouts at 27 2/3, just 3 walks. And he's been absolutely phenomenal against Butto, who's been equally as good despite his 0-1 record. He's been very good in all of his starts, 2.86 ERA, 1.09 whip, 25 Ks in 22 innings. Walks a little bit of a problem as he's got 12 of them. But, the Mets bullpen usually picks up the slack there. Cubs do not hit well on the road, guys. 24th in batting average, 25th in OPS and WRC+. So the lineup that is doing a bulk of the scoring between these two teams should be neutralized by the fact that they're on the road. The Mets don't score all that much, period. I know their numbers are a little bit impressive, but the first 2 games in this series, guys, have been tight and low scoring for a reason because pitching is ruling the day. A lot of people look at this and go, no, I'm going to play the over in the third one. I'm not scared of the low total here. I'm going first 5 under. You have it at 4. Again, you're not fortunate enough to get the 4.5, but even at 4, keeping a push in the back pocket here for me is a worthwhile play here on the first 5 under.
First 5 under, even sitting at a 4. So both the first 5 unders from our man Mark Zinno. He ain't afraid of the line moves there going with him. Still saying, forget the hook. I don't need no hook. We push we push the under 4, the play for him in Chicago and Mets. And because BP, they so fervently wanted us to speak about this game. You have any thoughts? First 5, full game. Any thoughts on this Cubs and Mets matchup? Just to make sure that we give it its due diligence.
Yeah, I got one thing to say. Do you know how many runs the Cubs have scored in the first 5 innings their last 4 games? Would anyone like to step up and wager a guess there?
What do we got?
1.
0.
One.
Okay.
1 run, and it was yesterday. So they've scored
Actually,
1 run in
half.
4 games in the first 5. Yeah, so they have not been getting off to hot starts at the plate whatsoever. So, yeah, I'm co-signing with Zinno. So with this pitching, Imanaga has been absolutely filthy. So, yeah, I think runs will be scarce in that one.
Runs scarce. So it sounds like our guys agreeing on that one. Shout out to Derry Hardaway. He's saying, Bryan, Mark, big fan of each one of you. You gents. Been watching for 3 years here at WagerTalk. We appreciate that. Also dropped a goat emoji for us saying we know our football. So you're going to want to stick around here with WagerTalk, folks, for football season. It's like right around the corner, but we got some baseball games and NBA playoffs to cash in on before that happens. So check these guys out over at WagerTalk.com. Tyler's asking here before we get your thoughts in your best bet, Bryan. So I'm going to ask Zinno on this one. Are the Nationals a live dog here tonight? I mean, this has kind of been they got tagged last night, so you got to feel like they're coming in limping a little bit. It's Heaney on the mound, and Tokyo Brandon was actually breaking this one down on Wager Talk today earlier, liking Heaney and his strikeout prop. So he's liking the starting pitching for the Texas Rangers. But Tyler in the chat wondering, you got a barking dog on the other side with a bad team like the Nationals?
I think so. I mean, look. I talked about run support for Andrew Heaney last year. Got some of the best run support in baseball, nearly 8 runs a game. This year, he's only getting 3. And last time I checked, his ERA is near 6, which is a bad combination if you're trying to bet on a guy to win a game. Like, that's just the reality of the situation. So they're not scoring for him, and they've lost all 5 of his starts this year, by the way. The Texas Rangers have. He doesn't have 5. He's not 0-5, but the team has lost all 5 of his starts for a reason because he's been a bad pitcher. And on the flip side, Trevor Williams has been excellent. So after scoring 7 runs last night, the Texas Rangers, and we saw this last year from them during the regular season, inconsistent as can be when you look at kind of their game-to-game performance. Over the long haul, the numbers look great, but they were a team last year that was sometimes frustrating to bet on when it came to their lineup. Their runs came in bunches, and then they dropped off. So I think the Nats are a live dog in this spot.
Live dog. Well, we got some thoughts here on the total for my man Brian Power. As a matter of fact, that is his best bet. It's looking like it's sitting still at 9 with some juice towards the under. You agree with the under here, or is it runs in this one, BP? How are you looking to bet it for your best bet?
I do not agree with the under, Dan. I am expecting plenty of runs to be scored in this game. Going to go with the over, and here's why. As we have already established, Andrew Heaney, the Ranger starter, is bad. He's very bad. 6.26 ERA, 5.64 FIP, 4 home runs allowed his last 2 starts, 9 walks in the last 4 starts, and he didn't even have one his last time out. So control's been an issue, long ball's an issue. It's all bad for Andrew Heaney. And, we have people in the chat asking about the Nats being a live dog. What's fascinating to me, and has me perplexed, is when I look at the Wager Talk odds screen, the line move for this game, everybody seems that they're betting Texas. It's up to minus 190 after opening minus 150. Well, I would not lay that kind of price with Andrew Heaney, who may not be long for this rotation the way he's been pitching. And, oh, by the way, 4 previous appearances versus the Nationals, how's Heaney performed? 7.07 ERA. So he's going to get shelled. But here's the good news if you're a Rangers fan. I think they score some runs of their own here. Trevor Williams, I know he's looked great, kind of having a career year, a renaissance, if you will, but he's benefited from facing some weak lineups recently. Miami, Oakland, to name a couple. You look at the numbers, left-handed hitters still give Williams some problems, and Texas has a bunch of those in their lineup. And you also have to remember, okay, Zinno mentioned about Heaney last year and the run support he had. Well, Williams last year, he was not good. He had a 5.55 ERA and a 1.60 whip in 30 starts. So has this start to the season from him, has it been a mirage? Maybe. I'm not ready to buy into Williams necessarily. It's worth noting in 2 previous starts versus Texas, 8.38 ERA. I am not a fan of either of these starters, Dan. I think bullpens are going to struggle as well. Over 9 is how I would play Nats Rangers on Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, it almost seems like too easy to just take that, near plus 160 with Washington. The chat hearing Joe Ranieri in their heads as you're giving that breakdown, talking about Heaney. They're saying, as Joe would say, Heaney is hot ass. Is the quote that is being dropped?
He does
here
say that a lot,
the,
doesn't
he? In the chat. I know you can't get that delivery like you get over there at the NBA tip-off show. That's going to be coming your way. More reasons than ever to be subscribed here to the channel. So there you go. There's some best bets for you over in the Nats and Rangers from my man Bryan Power. He's on a 70% run. Speaking of NBA, last month in hoops. Mark Zinno going with the first 5 under in the Chicago and Mets game. Boys, we covered about every single game on the card, and they're still wanting more. It's what we do here. Before we shut things down, let's talk about the Get Back special. West Coast action, Montgomery and Yamamoto as the Dodgers and Arizona Diamondbacks face off this evening. We've seen some over money come in. We've seen some favorite money come in, despite being a road favorite, although it is against the D-backs after all. Zinno, any thoughts on the late night special here between the Dodgers and the D-backs before we shut things down?
All I'm going to say is that when the Dodgers are a minus 155 favorite or lower, they're 6-3 again straight up this year. So you don't often get a chance to play the Dodgers at a number like this. I would take advantage of it. I would take the Dodgers here for the full game.
Nice and easy. Eat the chalk, take the Dodgers. Is it that easy, my man BP?
Yeah, I mean, you got to remember that this is a big revenge series for the Dodgers because the playoff exit last year, they still remember that. I think that still matters. Revenge, can often be overrated in baseball. It's obviously a long season, but I think, the magnitude of that, they remember, and they want to win this series. Yamamoto's been great. Arizona, it doesn't surprise me that they're struggling a little bit. Remember, this was a team last year, guys, that made it to the World Series despite being outscored in the regular season. I think that was only the second time that it ever happened in baseball history. This is a sport that's been around for a very, very long time. And I would concur with my good friend, Mr. Zinno, that when you get a team like the LA Dodgers, who are going to win a lot of games, this cheap on the money line, it's probably a good idea to jump on it. So, yeah, it'd be Dodgers or pass for me in that NL West showdown.
Yeah, and even being the roadside there, I know it was a tight game that you saw last night, but I'm sure one of the popular plays for the chat is just going to be grabbing some of that plus money and laying the 1.5 with the Dodgers. That would worry you at all, BP? Laying a 1.5, or with a price like this, does that tell you everything you need to know?
You could. I mean, if you really like, I don't hate that look. Yeah, maybe kind of, sort of. Yeah, it's not the worst look in the world. I mean, again, the price isn't. I just want to go back to the price. I mean, yes, minus 145 isn't the greatest price. That's not something I would regularly lay. It's not awful, and it's the Dodgers. That's the thing. You have to consider who you're laying it with.
True.
The Dodgers, we all expect them to be on a 100-win team this year. And Arizona won a lot of close games last year. I think Zinno knows that I do this often. Sometimes I outthink myself. I think that the Diamondbacks are going to lose a lot of close games this year, and that would convince me to probably not lay the 1.5 because I could see the Dodgers winning by exactly 1 run in this game.
Yeah, and I'm with you. And again, you talk about price plus 110 if you lay the 1.5. I'd rather pay the extra 30 cents over the customary 110 and just take a money line,
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, I mean, and to that end, the Dodgers are just 15-17 on the run line this year. Not like last year. They were blowing teams out early. It's not in their favor at this point of the season to make a run line play to do it. I mean, again, I'm with you guys. I don't endorse really anything over minus 140 in Major League Baseball. Agreed. It's just not. I can't co-sign it a lot. You're asking me what I would do. That's what I would do in this game. I would play it that way just because of where the Dodgers are. And when we see them at this short of a price, you have to try to take advantage of it because it doesn't happen often.
Yeah, and if you're really, if you just have to, if you have to lay something with the Dodgers, that's not the money line. You think Yamamoto has an edge against Montgomery?
They may
If you
be the
have
better
to,
parlay.
lay the half run, lay the half run in
Right.
the
They may
first
be
5.
the better parlay option
Yeah.
if you're looking for another parlay option. They may be the better one. And given that the minus 145 would be a better payout than you would
Yeah.
with the Phillies playing minus 190 or whatever it is. I got to double check the number, but that may be a better parlay option for you if you find a good friend to pair it with.
Yeah, and Have Cash pointing out something good before we sign off here. This could also be a game, if you are someone who doesn't want to lay a minus 155, you wait, you pass, and then if you see the Dodgers go down early in this game, a little 1-run shot or something like that, you hop in at some potential plus money for the for the Dodgers, getting them from a favorite to some plus money. So that's another way to attack it for sure. So that is the show for us here today. Appreciate Mark Zinno, appreciate Bryan Power, giving you some actionable info. Damn near every game on the card. If you came here for Pirates and the Athletics, we're sorry that we didn't hit that one, but we were doing you a favor. So we got your back in that one. What's that?
I did not bring up the Marlins Rockies on purpose. I almost was gonna. I was gonna try to find a way to work it into the show just to troll you, but no. Even I could find no discernible edge in that absolute dumpster fire of a game right there.
That's a man of the people. If you can find a discernible edge, hop below in the comments and let us know. That's going to do it for us. A Wednesday edition. Best of luck, everyone. If you want more info, getting the sports that you need here, you can always hang out right here with us at WagerTalk and click the video on your screen right now, and you don't have to go far. NBA tip-off still coming on your way. We got single game videos galore. You can check out the links in the description. And until next time, best of luck. We'll see you next time here on WagerTalk.